Three, two, one. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Isaiah Vreeman, along with Brad Lowers and a couple special guests, Mike Aikens from the Anchorage Wolverines, the head coach, and Cole Frawner, the captain. The captain is here. The captain has arrived, so everything will be good. He will be kind of piloting this because without Keaton, I feel lost. So, Cole, you might have to help me out as captain. Keaton
do.
might join us. He got dragged into some meetings. His daughter's practice for softball got changed over from Thursday to tonight. So we'll see if he's going to be able to make it or not. But like always, Brad Lowers is joining us as well. And Brad, we'll start off with you. I know that you had had an interesting thing that you attended this week that we'll kick off the show with.
Yeah, big press conference over there at UAA, and a lot of things happening over there with, first of all, the AD stepped down. The volleyball position is going to turn over. And then basketball, after 21 years with Rusty Osborne as the head coach, the all-time winningest coach at UAA, there's been a change there. And coming back is Cameron Turner. And Cameron Turner, Isaiah, you and I go to a lot of UAA games, and it was surprising to me because I know Cameron, and I didn't really realize he had been at UAA for 6 years, one as a graduate assistant and 5, back then as the lead assistant. And so during that time, I was able to be a volunteer at UAA and been able to watch him. And to watch him at the press conference, I can really see where the 10 years he's been away has really matured him and made him ready for this position. As I considered him filling the position, my perception was how he was 10 years ago. And I can really see where he's, grown as a coach and also grown as a way he can handle a team. So I like this choice for UAA, and he's from Lake Oswego, and if I got this correctly, I might have to research it, but I think Mark Few is from Lake Oswego, which has to be a good matchup there. And one of the things they liked about Cameron's work at UAA is he worked with Suki Wiggs, who was an outstanding guard back in the day, and then Taylor Rhodey was an unbelievable big guy. He was the National Player of the Year. He started at Arizona State, and I think Cameron Turner was a big influence on him coming to UAA. And that team, I don't know how far along they went, but I think if you go back 10 or 15 years, they're the farthest advancing UAA team. Just looking at some of the Alaska kids, it's always a big deal, I think, with crowd-wise, the more Alaska kids you can recruit. And right when we got there for the press conference, Coach Turner was in the players' locker room, and that was his introduction to the players, basically. And so, that's always an important thing where he gives some of his expectations to the players. And, with today's college scenario where kids are moving from school to school, I think Michigan, I'm predicting, if this comes out Tuesday, I'm predicting that Michigan is going to win the national title. But if anybody's really wants to know, I watched it just a few minutes ago. But Michigan, for example, all 5 of their starters were transfers through other teams. So that's kind of the way college basketball is right now. And I think with Coach Turner, he understands, and he's been a part of really how college basketball has evolved, and he's got a good understanding of that. And I think anybody who's hired at that level today needs to be someone who really understands that. And I think he really fills the bill there. But just speaking about local players that you would hope to see come back, I think Luke Johnson and Merrick Adukovic are players from Diamond High School, and then Parker Crone. He's a left-hander from Wasilla, and then Mohamed Sabali, who is an East player, former
Right.
Gatorade Player of the Year, and I think him and Merrick both redshirted this last year, and I think you know I think in college basketball, especially at the upper level, you do it one or two ways. You bring in phenomenal freshmen, or you have guys that have been around 3 or 4 years that have that experience that kind of can what they lack in talent they'll bring about in experience, and so I think that's a great thing if you can add that to your program. Coach Turner was Coach of the Year in 2020. One interesting thing is he's coached both the women's team and the men's team at Eastern Oregon or Eastern Arizona. That's a junior college. So one advantage to being at a junior college is you're always recruiting. So every 2 years you have to recruit. Sometimes only 1 year. Coming back up here, you would know junior college players that have excelled, and I think too, as much as you favor, keeping every player at home, I think that almost everybody understands that that has to be a mix with outside talent as well. And I think that's something he's going to do well with. Silas Williams is someone in the program that's put themselves in the transfer portal. I think, one thing that Coach Turner said during the interview, he mentioned his relationship with Coach Osborne. Coach Osborne mentioned that his ties to UAA is something that really, meant a lot to him, and I think people on the selection committee. And then one thing he said, he didn't dwell on it a whole lot, but he talked about the support of his wife and how she's really supported his basketball dream, coming to Alaska and then, going to Arizona and just supporting everything. And I think sometimes not every wife would be overly excited about winters in Alaska compared to winters in Arizona. But I think to have the family all in one mind, I think it's going to be an exciting time for UAA basketball.
Agreed. It will be definitely different heading into next season with a new men's coach at the helm and a girls coach who's only been there 1 year and heading into their second season, and a new volleyball coach. And as we learned today, actually just coming out earlier today, that Nathan Shazby, UAA hockey coach, has stepped away. Him and UAA have decided to part ways. And it's a big shakeup going over at UAA. And that kind of leads us right now into hockey, as in hockey, the Anchorage Wolverines coming off of a weekend and finishing the regular season. We know that the regular season finishes for everybody technically on Saturday, April 11th. But the Wolverines do not have a game this coming weekend. Finished up this weekend with their 59th game, and everyone's out 57. So we have Mike Aikens, head coach of the Anchorage Wolverines, and we also have Cole Frawner joining us, the captain, as we said to start the show. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So have some questions for you, Cole. We'll start off with you as the captain.
Okay.
And I think being a captain, as a coach, I remember picking captains of basketball teams, and every sport seems to have a captain of some sort. The Seattle Seahawks, who, I have a real special relationship with as my favorite team, and they kick everyone's butt, and they're my favorite. And Keaton, our other co-host, is a Cowboys fan, so we don't like that. And Brad here is a Packers fan, so we don't. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Cole.
No, I was saying I'm a Cowboys fan too.
Oh my gosh, Cole, never mind. We can just end this right now. Cowboy, oh my word. What are we doing? My sister-in-law is a Cowboy fan too. I'm so happy Keaton's not here, because now this interview would have just totally derailed. You guys talking about it would have been over. Cowboy talk for the rest of the time. Anyway, so when I look at captains, I think that a captain for a hockey team is a really unique position. That C on your chest is a big deal. There's the the assistant captains and things like that, but that C is a real badge. And I believe this is your second or third year with it. Is it your second year?
This is my second year in the leadership group. Last year I was an assistant captain.
Assistant captain, and this year you're the full captain. I knew you were in leadership last year too. And what, you were an assistant captain last year. What did being that assistant captain last year teach you and you bring into this year being the full captain? What was that transition like for you?
I mean, it was honestly pretty similar. Like as an assistant captain, you kind of do the same things you do as a captain. It's just you kind of like for me last year, like Stimple was our captain, and so he was, like the head guy that on the cover or whatever. So I mean, he'd like lay down the law, and the assistant captains kind of just help out and lead in their individual ways. So I think like some of the things I learned was just like because I've had two great captains, and I took several things from both of them. But I think last year what I learned was just to use my voice a little more, be vocal, and I think it's really helped me this year learning that.
So that's interesting that you say that, because that next question I had for you was how do you think from the first, that first month, the training camp in September, because the Wolverines have a long season, how did that evolve from the start of the season till now?
I think it just like I slowly just, started doing it. Like for me, I can kind of tell like everyone respects me. You can kind of feel it. And then if everyone respects you, you can kind of speak up whenever and everyone will listen to you. So once you win the team over and you have all the respect, it's on you then now. And then it's on you to speak up when you need to speak up. And just being vocal really helped me this year, and it was something that I learned from the previous years from my captains. So
that's great. That's important. Captains can't be silent all the time. You have to lead by example, but you can't be silent either. It doesn't. Doesn't work.
I forget. There's a quote from George S. Patton. He's like, part of leadership is theater. You have to be able to present yourself in a great way, and you have to lead by example.
Oh, I like that. That's great. That's awesome. So for the course of the season, I know the season was long and the season started out not how you guys wanted to. It was a tough schedule and you guys hadn't played together very much, a lot of new faces. And as the season progressed, you guys started to gel a lot more and a big win streak and things like that. So I guess, was there a special moment during this season with the team that you thought, hey, this team really can? Because at the beginning, it didn't look like this was a playoff team, but now you guys are a playoff team. So was there a certain moment that you can think of that clicked?
I wouldn't really say a certain moment. I mean, I can think of one. I think it was in like January. We got swept by, I think we got swept by Chippewa at Chippewa. And we had a leadership meeting, just kind of a team meeting with the captains. And we kind of just spoke from our hearts and just kind of said, boys, like we really have a skilled team this year. And we just have to start playing together. And a bunch of guys spoke up, and it was actually really cool. And I think kind of since then we've really started to start playing like a team and gel together. So I mean, if I got to think of one moment, that was a pretty big moment for us, I think.
Oh, that's great. Coach, kind of bringing you in on this conversation. What have you seen from Cole this year as your captain, and his impact on the team so far this year?
Well, the way I do things, I rely on our leadership group a lot, and there's a lot of things that they deal with behind the scenes that so I don't have to. Cole's organized. He's absolutely has the respect of everybody in that locker room with what he does, how he conducts himself every day. He just does things right. He's our hardest worker every day. He's our most physical player. He's willing to do whatever it takes on the ice. I think guys respect the heck out of that. And so when he does speak up, it means something. And, I think he's done a ton behind the scenes that have really helped us. And I think, looking at the question you just asked him, I think it's a piece that's evolved from the beginning of the year. And we started with very few returning players. And it was almost a perfect storm where we played the Wilderness 5 times who were players and played Lone Star early, and we were 2-9-1, I think, or we were in a bad spot in the beginning of the year, and to finish the way we did, I think speaks volumes to what the character is in our locker room, and I think the leadership group had a huge impact on what we've done.
So Cole, one question I have, I know the Wolverines have a pretty big following. We get, I think this weekend, the total for the number of games at the Sullivan was a little over 2,500 for Sunday's game, which was, considering it was Easter Sunday, I was shocked. I didn't expect 2,000 people in there. So to see that number was awesome. And Saturday was a huge crowd, almost 4,000. What's something about this team that people on the outside might not see that you feel like you really want everyone to know about?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I'd say just like the fact that, because I've been on two other Wolverines teams, and towards the end of the year, it starts to get to a little bit of a grind. Like January, February hits, and it's like that's your 6 month plan. Guys a little grumpy when they come to the rink. They wake up grumpy, and just it starts to get kind of a grind that time of the season. And like this year, I haven't really seen that from our guys. It's kind of like everyone comes to the rink and they're happy to be there. It's kind of cool. There's no grumpy faces in the morning, really. We have a good group.
That's good. I like how you said that. I mean, it's kind of like in baseball, the dog days of August, so to speak. And
yeah,
especially up here in Alaska.
It really is a thing. It really is a thing. I've seen it with my own eyes. January, February hits, and it's game 40, and you do the same thing every day. The days get repetitive, and yeah.
No, I haven't been in that myself as a player, but I could totally see that being the case.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Isaiah, it's a similar fear, eerily similar to 5 years ago when we went on a good run and ended up, losing the national championship game. And the feeling I feel is the care and the love in the locker room, the excitement to be playing at this time of the year. And what Cole's referring to, I think, is huge. It's a 9 month grind, and guys are playing banged up and fighting through illness and injury, and they're at home, they're missing family, they're missing girlfriends, they're real people. They're not robots that just show up to the rink and put on the jersey and go out and perform every day. So I think that's part of the battle at this time, is having guys that want to come to the rink and be excited to play at this time of the year. The weather's getting nice, guys want to be outside. In other places there's no snow on the ground right now, they can go out and play golf. I'm a golfer. I'd like to play some golf right now, but I'd rather be at the rink and doing what we're doing with the guys. So I think there's a care and love in our locker room, and the guys are playing hard for each other right now.
Before we get to the playoffs, because I love hearing all that. This was something very unique to hockey that I didn't know really from the outside until I started working with the Wolverines. The Billet family. Somebody said billets, and I had no idea what anybody was talking about. I'm like, I had to kind of lean over to Jackie and go, what's a billet? I don't know what a billet is. So I found out that, it's the families that'll take in hockey players that don't live here, and they're with them for, like what you're saying, Cole, for 8-9 months of a season. How do billet families, which I find just so fascinating, how do billet families in that Anchorage community right now, and billets in whole, impact you guys throughout the course of a full year?
Yeah, no, they're huge, and I will say that from what I've seen, Anchorage, I think we have like some of the best billets in the league. Really, our billets are really good, and just like the support some of these billets give to the kids, like they're living. So it's some of these kids' first year living away from home, and having like a family there to make you feel at home is really big, and it affects guys hugely.
No, I can imagine. I really can, especially as you were saying in January and February, those rough
Yeah.
days. That's especially up here when it's dark, just real dark.
I've been on the other side,
Yeah.
Isaiah, where we've been a billet family, and those kids become part of your family, and it takes a special person to open up their homes to these guys, and trust the Wolverines are going to bring in high character kids that are going to be role models for their kids and their families, and it's a lot of hockey families, families that have young kids in youth hockey that want to get involved and help out. They're certainly not doing it to make money. The amount of food these guys eat and stuff. Billet families are not doing well when it comes to that. But we have billet families, honestly, that travel on the road to a lot of our games, including the lower 48. It's amazing the support these guys get, and honestly, it's probably the biggest part of having a successful organization is having good billet families.
I agree with you. That is a very unique thing to hockey that I had not noticed or didn't know, and it's been very eye opening and pretty incredible to see. Very impressive, very impressive. So now we kind of shift to playoffs. What is the open it up to you to both of you guys? What is the mindset? I know this last weekend isn't the way you guys wanted to finish. I know that. So how does that mindset now shift? What is the mindset heading into the playoffs?
I'll start.
Yeah.
So I think for us, this was disappointing. And what was most disappointing to me is we dominated on Sunday, probably 95% of that game. And I thought we played the right way and we were in total control of that game. And within basically a minute, 3 goals happened that changed the whole game. And that was frustrating. And it was basic, simple mistakes that we made some mental mistakes and we didn't play the game the right way. And some of the bullets that we had maybe dodged in some other games got us, and it was disappointing that way. I felt bad for the guys because we did do a lot of things well that game, and we were right there. And really, the game we played on Friday that we lost, we weren't at our best. Certainly the first period we were not very good, but after that we were pretty good. And the game was 1-1 with 3 minutes left in the game. And now you're looking at it like, okay, we get a chance to either win down the stretch here or get into overtime or a shootout and win those games. And our guys knew how important those points were to us and battling to fight for second place, which would have gotten us, home ice advantage for one of the series probably. And so, that was the hardest part. Now, we went in the locker room. We had a good chat, and when you lose and you ended a streak that we did on Friday night, I just said, hey, it's time to start a new streak. Mm-hmm. And in the last game, you don't want to lose, during the playoffs to knock you out. We want to now get on a run, and going into the playoffs, the slate is fresh. We have a week off now that we can refresh, and we do have guys that are banged up. They're tired. We have some illness that we're dealing with. And so I really think this break is going to be good, and we'll have some fun at practice and we'll get some work done and we'll get better. And I think we'll be refreshed and ready to go. Hopefully when we figure out exactly who we're going to play, where we're going to play. And I think our locker room agrees. And I said it to them because I don't care who we play. We're going to have to beat good hockey teams to get where we're going to go. And it doesn't matter if it's at home, it's on the road. I really don't care. The thing I told the team about that I cared about, I wanted to get second because I wanted to get some home ice advantage. After that, finishing third or fourth doesn't matter to me because you're going to have to play good hockey teams. So, we'll hopefully get on a good run here and we'll get ourselves ready to go for the playoffs.
Yeah, I actually had somebody asking me, well, if you finish fourth, you've got to play Minnesota. And yeah, if this was the Wolverine team we saw in September, that would be worrisome, but it's not. It's not that team. No. This is a different team. They're much better than that. So I've told a few people, I'm not scared that the Wolverines would play Minnesota. Yeah, you'd want.
we played them like a month ago and we should have swept them really. Like we matched up very well against them.
Well, and you guys have you mentioned it earlier, Cole. You guys have a lot of talent. There is a lot
Yeah.
of talent on this squad. Waggle, the Beadall brothers, the Mahar brothers, yourself, Cole. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's some people who will just get in the corners and dig the puck when it's needed, and all that, all those little things that lead to wins. So that's when you're looking at that stuff right now. What do you think it's going to take to, let's just say it's Minnesota? What's it going to take for you guys, Cole, kind of as a team, as you as the captain? Let's say it's Minnesota or Wisconsin, you're on the road.
Yeah.
What's your message to the guys? What are you guys thinking as you're going into those playoffs?
I think playoff hockey just in general, like everyone has to play their role, if that makes sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone needs to know their role, not try anything outside their role, and everyone just has to buy in. Like as soon as everyone buys in, which we have been doing, but in playoffs, when you buy in and all the pieces to the puzzle connected, like it works perfectly. So I'd say everyone just needs to play their role and just play hard. Playoff hockey is just so fun. It's so intense. It's like a whole nother season. It's pretty cool.
No, I don't disagree with you. Playoff hockey, Stanley Cup is one of the hardest things to win. It just
Yeah.
is. Playoff hockey's different. I don't care what level you're at. Playoff hockey's different.
It is for sure. And I do think as hard as we've had to battle just to get in the playoffs, I keep talking to our team about really the playoffs started for us about a month and a half ago. We were in a playoff to get to the playoffs. And so
That's
that
true.
forced us to fight through some adversity and get ourselves ready and find a way to win a lot of games, which we were on a heater. And we did things that I don't think anybody in the league and around, junior hockey were expecting to happen. And for us to get to the point where go from second to last to potentially be able to finish second in the league was, we were doing some things right. So I think it's just a matter of continuing to do those things. And Cole is right; it will notch up another level too, and I think we'll be ready for that. I really think we've responded when we get into pressure situations, when there's big crowds, when there's energy. We are better. When arena's flat, there's not many people there. We like to play in front of people, and we like the energy in there. And I think our guys feed off that. And you're going to find those crowds are going to be like that in the playoffs. And I think we look forward to it.
Yeah,
So
the boys are entertainers.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not wrong. So speaking of entertainment, Cole, then who's the funniest guy on the team?
Oh boy.
Oh, funniest. Prompts is really funny. Um, I don't know. We've got a lot of jokesters. Trumps, Harut, Quam's a great guy.
There's
The
some
list goes on.
team that pull some pranks that stay hidden away.
Yeah, there's a couple prank horrors.
Yeah, they're I'm one of them scores a lot of goals and maybe set some records for us this year. He's no
Yeah.
around after practice. Guys leave, and you'll find out certain things have happened. And the coaches have been involved. The guys have gotten some of the coaches with some things, and we've gone back and forth. Trumpeter takes a lot of abuse just because he's a good sport and he dishes it out himself. So there's a lot of things there. Putting a stool in front of a urinal for him to be able to step up to the urinal and be able to use it. Maybe somebody had a broken stick and it was 2 feet long, and that stick ends up in his stall. He's a
Oh
little
man,
guy. But yeah, the guys have fun with that stuff.
that's awesome, Cole. One, as we kind of wrap things up here, Cole, I know with the null and stuff, you're aging out. This was your last season with the Wolverines. Tell me, what was it like? Knowing that this was your last regular season home game, and you end up holding your sister's hand, who I think is what, 8, 9 years old.
Yep, 8 years old.
8 years old, and she's singing the national anthem, and she needed to have her big brother by her, holding her hand while she
Yeah.
sings the national anthem for the last regular season home game. What was that like?
It was really special. Like, actually, since you bring that up, like last summer, I was not planning on playing another year. I was in retirement mode. I was going to hang them up. I was going to start doing construction, making some money. And then I think like in the middle of the summer, I went to a couple skates just for some cardio or whatever. And I was like, man, like I kind of miss it. And then a couple weeks later, I called Marin. I was like, hey, I'm going to play. And he's all excited. And yeah, no, I'm really glad I did though. This has been a really good year. And to end it in the fashion we did on Sunday for the regular season, that was a really special moment.
I thought that was very really cool. I really enjoyed that. So, Coach, as we finish up here with the Wolverines, what are some of the things that you're going to do this week then, knowing that this weekend you don't have any games, and it looks like more than likely we'll wait till Saturday. We'll have to wait till Saturday to find out where we play, because games are, I mean, I think it's going to come down to those last Saturday games with the points the way they are, only 1 point separating second, third, and fourth. So what are some of the things that you're going to do this week to prepare the team?
Yeah, there'll be some, some recovery done, work with the trainers and making sure guys are taking care of the bumps and bruises and the nagging things that they got going on. And then we'll have some fun too. We were going to just go out and have Monday fun day today. And what we do is guys draft teams. We go out and play 4-on-4, play games up to 5 and have fun. There's young local kids that we invite out to skate on those on Mondays as well. We didn't end up practicing today. The guys came to the rink, and one of our goalies was under the weather and didn't practice. And Kai is a little bit banged up, and so we just decided to give the guys a day off today. And I gave Cole a credit card, said take the guys to breakfast, and they went and spent some time together and hopefully had a good time. And tomorrow we are going to do a fun day, and then Wednesday we're off. We'll go hard Thursday and Friday, take Saturday, Sunday off. So it should be a nice little, rest period for them. We'll have some fun. They'll be happy coming to the rink and spending time with each other, but we'll also get some rest in it too. And then we'll figure out what our schedule is going to be. It's based off of our travel and things, what'll happen next week.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. Really appreciate the time. I've got lots more questions on just all sorts of different things with some of your personal coaching history, Mike, and Cole, some more experiences from this year and stuff, but you're gearing up for playoffs. So I don't want to keep you up too late or anything like that as we tape this on a Monday night. So really appreciate the time, gentlemen. You're more than welcome to stick around. But you don't have to. We're going to finish up with some baseball talk for high school, and then we'll see you guys around the rink. And thanks again for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh,
Really
this is
appreciate
great.
it.
This is great.
Guys.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.
See you later.
That is the Anchorage Wolverines, the captain Cole and head coach Mike Aikens. That was some good stuff. Those are good guys. Not having Cole around next year just because he can. You're aged out at once you hit 21, after that season, you're done basically in the null. So it'll be interesting to hear what Cole decides to do after that, whether he's able to pick up with a college team somewhere else, or like he said, start his career and doing some construction and going from there. But that was some good discussion. I like some of his leadership and that captain discussion.
Yeah, I like that as well. And, for me, just to be able to learn some things about hockey. I've got a nephew who played hockey, but we're pretty much a basketball family. And just to learn some things like that, I think you were so spot on, Isaiah, when you talk about being a captain in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can't think of other sports where the C on the chest shows up as prominently. And it's a little bigger team. There's a little more responsibility. I kind of think as being a junior hockey team, being a little younger, that leadership is even more important, and being a role model. And being a little
Absolutely.
more vocal, as was one of his goals. Really impressed by him, and even how grateful he was for the people that take care of him. The billet situation, it's just pretty impressed, and I know Isaiah occasionally you try to scalp some tickets for us, so I think
I do.
we'll jump on there a little more. And I like too Coach's approach about rest, and rest is a weapon.
It is. It absolutely is. Rest is a
Trying to
weapon.
think, I think where I read that, maybe the character that Matt Damon plays, which escapes me right now. And then I think too, you and I know this, Isaiah, that a lot of growth comes in trips, when you go on trips with the team, and
Yep.
and it doesn't come with everything going your way, but somewhere along the way, there's going to be something difficult. You're going to spend extra time in the airport. And for the Wolverines, it's even more difficult than virtually any team in the league, because you go on those 2-3 week trips. And I guess you talk about high character individuals. You don't want to travel and spend that kind of time with a bad teammate.
No, it's funny when you look at, for those who don't know, and maybe this discussion with the Wolverines and the junior hockey and the null and all this is kind of new to you. If you look at the NAHL website, it's funny. The Anchorage Wolverines, Fairbanks Ice Dogs, and the Kenai River Brown Bears, they are in the Midwest division. There isn't a West. They're Midwest division. So they play teams all in the Midwest. So it's not like you fly to Seattle and then you play some teams on the West Coast or something. No, they're flying to, right now, the playoffs look like right now that'll either be opening against the Minnesota Wilderness in Minnesota or the Wisconsin Wendigo in Wisconsin. There's an outside chance too that it could be opening in Fairbanks if Wisconsin really doesn't do anything and doesn't get any more points. But even then, it looks like the Wisconsin would be ahead of us. So there's a lot of different combinations that could happen. And so these guys are gone for 3 weeks. Excuse me, 3 weeks at a time. And they had 3. It was 3 3-week trips this year, which that's a long time away from home for a lot of these teams. Now, some of these kids, when they get down into the States, they see their families a little bit more because they can drive to their games. But those are long trips.
Isaiah, when you look at the playoffs, isn't it a little bit different than other playoffs where wherever you travel, you basically have to split games in order to win a game back at home? Is that right?
It depends. Some of that is spelled out. I know that there's a Midwest division call later this week that some of those things will be ironed out. What the Null did, I mean, this is what they did last year, and I was kind of on the periphery of this last year, is they were offering, hey, what if we gave you $5,000 and we could have the third game at home because we know we'll make that back up in tickets. And Fairbanks can do some of that stuff. Anchorage can do some of that. Kenai, if they make the playoffs, they would be able to do. So there's a lot of wheeling and dealing with some of that. But we do know that the first round will be played 17th and 18th at some location in 2 different places. Minnesota's one, and then it'll either be Fairbanks. I think that's the outside chance right now is Fairbanks, but it's possible. Fairbanks, Wisconsin, Wisconsin or Fairbanks.
Isaiah, I remember.
Oh man, sorry about that.
As you're trying to regain health there,
wow.
Coach Gaines, you brought him to a sports businessman meeting, and everybody kind of swamped to him. He was very, very popular. They had a lot of questions for him, and he seemed to enjoy it. And he said, wow, this is pretty neat. And then he said, I'm going to come back here. He he hasn't been back. Do you have any explanation about why that might be true?
Well, some of those weeks that he's gone, obviously he can't come. And then some of the other weeks, the practice time that they have at the Sullivan is basically from 10 till 12 or 12:30 sometimes. So their practice ends up being kind of right in the middle of that. But I'm sure once the season's over and earlier next season, we do have, I was in these meetings. I can't announce it yet, but there should be something pretty exciting coming up having to do with the Wolverines for next season as far as some possible opponents for preseason. So it's not, nothing's official yet, but I'm 99% sure that it will happen. And if it does, I would expect to have a preseason sellout is what I would expect.
Well, Isaiah, that's what's called a tease.
It is a tease. It definitely is a
You're
tease.
putting it out there. And I guess I have one more question. I know you get a little tired of it. And I know I asked it last week, but whether it was coach or you, I'm just wondering if anybody can truly explain how the standings work to me. Win here, win there. If we win this, we get that. It just seems like
Well,
hockey's pretty complicated.
it is. It's based on point systems. So the overtime wins, you get a point. You get 2 points. If you overtime loss, you get a point. If you win, it's 2 points. You lose, it's no points. But what the null does do is some of the tiebreakers for the null are a little different than other leagues that I know of. Is right now we're tied in points with Wisconsin. So we both have 70 points. But Wisconsin's seated ahead of us because they have more regulation wins than we do. So because of them having more regulation wins, they're seated above us in the standings. It's not head to head like it is with other ones. And it's because you can get points with overtime losses and you can go to overtime and things like that. Whereas in basketball, you don't. You know, football, you don't. That's not a thing. It's head to head is the big thing. So I initially thought it was head to head, but that's some of that head to head works for the Club 49 Cup, which is not. That's just an Alaska thing. That's not anything else, a null thing. But that's where some of it is. I know it's definitely a little bit more confusing than some other sports. That's for sure. But at least we're not soccer.
Yeah, I think I got to tell you, with that explanation, I'm not sure it helped me at all. But I paid attention, and at least gives me confidence that you have a grasp on that, and we'll just have to trust you on the standings.
Yeah, it's definitely, it can be a little tricky. There's no doubt about that. But I'm excited about how the playoffs are going to start. I don't know exactly where they're going to be playing quite yet. And when we do, obviously that'll get out there pretty rapidly. But we don't have that location yet. But my guess is it will not be at home. It will be on the road, just the way the math works right now with points and seedings and all that stuff. So the earliest we could have a home game would be April 24th, 25th weekend. That's the earliest we could have a home game. So we'll see. It's the way they're playing, or the way they've been playing the last, I'd say 6 weeks to 2 months. They've got a real shot. They can go on a run, like Coach said. They can go on a run, and I could see them in the Robbie Cup. I really could. If, to what Cole said too, is in the playoff hockey, you do your role, you execute your role at a high level, you're going to win a lot of games. And I think if they do that, they have more talent than a lot of these teams. They really do. So we'll see where it shakes out.
Well, one thing about hockey, and that is, and I think we saw it a little bit in the basketball postseason, sometimes the ball just bounces out, it rolls around.
Yep.
You get a hot goalie. You did what Coach says. You win 90% of the game, and the ball just, let's call it a puck. It hits like the post and ricochets in instead of hitting the post and bouncing out. So it's not a fair game all the time, but hopefully Wolverines can continue the run that they're on, and I think pretty impressed with coach and the captain and their presentation tonight.
Yeah, that's those are two big reasons why the Wolverines are where they're at right now after a pretty shaky start. I mean, it's no one would tell you that it wasn't. Their schedule going against Minnesota, who had I think 18 returning players from last year, where the Wolverines only had 6. So they are definitely a different team, and that's why I think they've really got a good shot. They really, really do. Getting in the playoffs is the big thing. Can't win the playoffs if you're not in the playoffs. So
got to be in it to win it.
Got to be in it to win it. Well, this was a kind of a hockey dominated podcast, but it was a good podcast. I know we'll have some more information on some other sports as we go along this spring. Things are starting to melt a little bit more, so hopefully the spring sports will be able to get outside fairly soon. I know that track and field was in the dome for a little bit. I know they're still practicing. I have not seen anything yet on when they're all going to be able to be outside quite yet. I know Don Winchester is always blowing some snow off of the fields. That's why he hasn't been at Sportsman Luncheon. He's always blowing some snow off the field somewhere. So, again, for Brad Lowers, Isaiah Vreeman, this is the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. See you out there and hope to see you outside in the sun with the spring sports and cheering on the Wolverines and the Sullivan at some point towards the end of this month.
Yeah, Isaiah. First baseball game, longest running rivalry in baseball will be West versus East, unless it snows, scheduled for Monday the 13th. Lucky number 13.
Oh, Monday the 13th.
It's going to be 5:15. Those games are played at Bartlett because that's where they've done most of the shoveling, and that's where the turf is. So if you're ready for baseball to start, that's the place to see it. Van Williams schedule it. Steve Nerlin tells us about it. It's really gone on. You mentioned some of the other sports, and as those go into their weeks and their standings and March set, we'll be able to follow up with that. A couple of interesting players you want to keep an eye on. One, Rylan Nikolai. He's a pitcher shortstop, plays for South, the defending champs. He's also the defending Gatorade Player of the Year, which is a little extra special because he won it as a junior. And he's set to be a senior. He's been recruited by Arizona State, where he would join his brother, who the Nikolais are certainly doing well in their baseball. One report, Liam Learman, whose dad is a phenomenal coach, he signed with Washington. He's been down there a couple of years, and he's got a couple wins already this year. So he's an outside or a player from Alaska we want to keep an eye on outside. And it's hard for me to keep up to all the good information that Steve Nerlin passed along. And we're confident that Van Williams is working pretty hard and keeping the schedule working, which has to be takes more than a computer. So thanks to him for all the good work that he does. Sitka and Kodiak, they have some early tournaments because they have a little bit better weather. Coach Gaines says the players are getting excited about the warmer weather outside. Now, what warmer weather, Isaiah, is he talking about?
I don't know what he's talking about.
About 15 degrees, unless you're sitting by a window in the right spot. It's not exactly warmer weather, but anyways, there'll be a lot to cover, including how the Wolverines do, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about them deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, hopefully. I think there's a good chance of that. I really do. They're when they're on, they are an explosion of goals. That 8-3 on Saturday just kind of they were all over Kenai. It was impressive. It was really impressive. And they were up 4-1. They were up 4-1 with, I think it was 15 minutes left in the third period on Sunday. And I believe it was 56 or 57 seconds, 3 goals. It was just, like Coach said, a couple lapses and boom. Kenai's got some pretty good shooters. and that just evaporated. And everyone was kind of shell shocked, like what just happened. So, but that being said, they're in the playoffs. They got a week off to rest, basically. No games this coming weekend, and then those first games, 17th and 18th. So, all right. I think that's it for this episode. We've got Brad Lowers, Isaiah Vreeman, Keaton, Homer will be with us next weekend unless another coaches meeting pops up or baseball, softball practice gets moved, but I don't think so. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned. And again, if any other news breaks in the sporting world in Alaska of really major proportions, make sure to tune into the podcast, and we'll have some instant reaction. That's why it's really important that you like and subscribe. All right, for Isaiah Vreeman, Brad Lowers, see you out there in the Alaska sports scene.